For the first time since he was eligible to sign a contract extension with the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown speaks out about his future with the team. I'll be getting into that, plus a new injury update from Malcolm Brogdon leaves some Celtics fans quite worried about the guard status moving forward into next year. And finally, speaking of guards, Payton Pritchard, young Celtics guard, is headed to the Team USA Select Camp, so stick around, we'll be talking about all that on this edition of Celtics Digest. The first thing I want to get into today, of course, is Jaylen Brown finally speaking, finally breaking his silence. Of course, Jaylen Brown now eligible for that Supermax extension after making an All-NBA team. A lot of Celtics fans really want him back. A lot of Celtics fans maybe think it'll be too much money, but regardless of your status, any news is good news at this point regarding Jaylen Brown, or at least every bit of news gives us a little bit more clarity on the situation. So he hopped on ABC News with Lindsay Davis to discuss the efforts of his Juice Foundation, which is really awesome, by the way. I recommend you go watch what he's been doing in the community. But near the end of the interview, he had a quote, and I'm going to read it for you. "I just see opportunity, a lot to learn, a lot to improve on. You can't take for granted the opportunities that you get. It's a privilege to be in a winning organization with a winning team, so it'll be great to bring back the guys and try to go on another run." Now, if you're like me, when you read this, he says it's a privilege to be on a winning team. It will be great to bring the guys back and go on another run. And to me, when I read that, I don't know if it's just casual conversation. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. But, when you read that, you kind of think like, oh yeah, he's talking about next season. He's gonna be here. He's gonna be awesome to bring the guys back, probably for long term. Now, I know obviously he's still gonna be here for next year no matter what, but at the same time, it's kind of encouraging, right? Just talking about how he's excited. It's a privilege to be with this team. Especially after Brad Stevens back around Summer League was saying, yeah, we don't want to say too much, but we're quite confident. We really want Jaylen here for a long, long time. He seems to have no concerns. Of course, a lot of us Celtics fans really thought Brown was going to sign that extension before the end of Summer League, but that didn't happen. And Jaylen Brown just recently went on his NBPA retreat to Spain. Of course, he's a prominent member of the Players Organization, but then he just came back, and as Gary Washburn says at the Globe, he said Jaylen Brown's now back in Boston, and a league source says the contract talks will resume next week. So regardless, this is a step forward for the situation. We know the contract talks are going to resume next week. We know Jaylen Brown himself says it's a privilege to be with the organization. It'll be fun to bring all the guys back and keep going for more runs. But to me it sounds like he kind of still wants to stick around Boston. And let me know in the comments again whether you're pro or anti Jaylen Brown Supermax extension, because I know the community's very split on this. But regardless, it's a very interesting update, and hope you guys find that pretty useful. Let's get into topic number 2, and that's Malcolm Brogdon. And it's not great news. Now, of course, we know Malcolm Brogdon brought in to bring some much-needed guard depth to the Boston Celtics, but what ended up happening last year is, of course, Brogdon, Marcus Smart, and Derrick White ended up splitting that role, kind of that point guard role between the three of them, even leaving someone like Payton Pritchard as the fourth-string point guard in a lot of situations. But Brogdon is a very good player, right? He was brought in to be the perfect sixth man, but after missing a bunch of regular season games, I think 15, and crucial games in the playoffs, and not really being able to play at full capacity because of injuries, something he struggled with his whole career, it kind of let some Boston Celtics fans down. And we were kind of hoping, next year, especially after trading out Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon is going to be needed for that guard depth, which is now basically just Derrick White and Payton Pritchard at the one spot. But on 98.5, just today, Murray on 98.5, you guys are familiar. I'm not the biggest 98.5 guy, of course, but I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't either. But he stated that, this injury is worse than we thought. He said that the recovery timeline, from what he heard, is going to be 6 to 8 months, maybe from now. And he didn't say whether that was starting from last season or starting from now. But regardless, that's really, really worrying. Now, again, if he's healthy for the playoffs, that's fine, because the Celtics can probably get through the regular season with a decent record on the backs of Derrick White and Payton Pritchard, as we're going to talk about later, having to step up and fill up that backup point guard role. And, of course, the signing of Dalano Banton, which maybe is a bit of an underrated signing. He's not like a star or anything, but he brings a bit of depth to that point guard position. But still, the fact that this injury is more serious than the Celtics are leading on, they've been quite tight-lipped, but, that could be bad, and this isn't the first reporter that has said this. If you guys remember Brian Windhorst back in June, there's a quote from him on, I think it was the Jumper Get Up or one of the shows. Malcolm Brogdon has a health issue that is so significant that, as I understand it, not only can the Celtics not do this trade, this is, of course, the trade that didn't go through involving the Clippers before Porzingis was brought over, there's probably no Malcolm Brogdon trade that they can do in the short term. So not only does this kind of strap the Celtics for the point guard position maybe for a chunk of next season, but it also kind of doesn't allow them to ship out Malcolm Brogdon if Brad Stevens and the rest of the Celtics management are looking to make a big move. We talk about Damian Lillard all the time, but if that trade's going to happen, Malcolm Brogdon is probably going to be involved. But on 98.5, they also said that Brogdon would fail a physical for any other team. Now, again, this is just word of mouth. There's no real official source that says this. But if it's true, and Malcolm Brogdon would fail a physical for any other team, and you can't trade him no matter what, and he's missing, a heavy chunk, about half of next season due to this injury, it's really not great news. Again, if he's back for the playoffs, you can kind of swallow it, but regardless, it's a little bit concerning. We knew injuries were going to be bad, but at this point, it's getting maybe a little worse than we anticipated. Final topic of the video today, and I'm pretty excited about this actually, and I think you guys will be too. Of course, Payton Pritchard, a guy who we've mentioned in this video quite a bit already. He's heading to the USA Select team. Of course, Team USA practicing for the World Cup in the Philippines coming up later this year. And guess what? Boston Celtics guard Payton Pritchard will be part of the USA Select team that will practice and scrimmage against the Team USA roster at a Las Vegas training camp in August, sources tell ESPN. Team USA is preparing for the FIBA World Cup later this summer in the Philippines. Now, I want to start off by saying I think this is a bad idea if you're Team USA, because Payton Pritchard is going to demoralize everyone so much on Team USA with his defense, he's probably going to knock down every single three he takes, right? He's just going to demoralize the team, and they're going to have no morale. All joking aside, though, regardless, this is pretty awesome for Payton Pritchard. Now, Payton Pritchard's career with Boston has been very interesting, to say the least. I mean, if you go look at his career year by year, he kind of doesn't have the typical trajectory. Coming into the league a little bit older than average, I think about 23, he started playing, I have it over here, 19 minutes a game. And his second season, it went down to 14 minutes a game. And then last season, it went down again to 13 minutes per game with his points per game and all his averages dropping along with that. Now, that's partially because the Boston Celtics guard rotation got a bit deeper. Of course, bringing in Derrick White, bringing in Malcolm Brogdon last year. But now with Marcus Smart gone, and as we mentioned, Malcolm Brogdon probably missing a chunk of the season with injury if he's not traded, which it doesn't look like he's going to be, Payton Pritchard is going to have some big shoes to fill next year as the number one backup point guard. And heading to this Team USA Select camp is just kind of the best thing for him, right? A guy like Payton Pritchard, an undersized guy who lives in the hearts of all Boston Celtics fans, he has the potential to be a solid backup point guard. I mean, guys, don't forget, Payton Pritchard is a career 40% three-point shooter, and that's including a down year last year. His first two seasons was over 40%. Last year was 36%, which is, for him, not as good as what he did in the years prior. So for him to be able to go learn from Team USA, to be scrimmaging against some of the best players that Team USA, I mean, not their best roster, it's not like the Olympic roster or anything, but still some very good players on this roster and some NBA stars, and Payton's going to be guarding them, I think that's just nothing but good things for his development, nothing but good things for the future of the Boston Celtics, because if Payton Pritchard can hold his own as the backup point guard with Malcolm Brogdon out, with Marcus Smart being shipped off to Memphis, which is still just heartbreaking to me. I find it difficult even talking about that. But yeah, it would just be awesome for Boston, awesome for their depth, awesome for their effort to go for the number one seed in the East next season. So really, really cool thing. And it's always cool when a Boston Celtics, especially maybe an unheralded Boston Celtic league-wide, gets recognition like this and gets invited to a prestigious event. Such as anything with Team USA and Boston Celtics put together, it's usually pretty good news. But that'll do it for this edition of Celtics Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the Celtics Digest channel for all your Boston Celtics news. This is your hub. I've been Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next one.